Hello my friends, Russia is in a deep trouble again. Kubishevsk Samara oil refinery is absolutely no-go. It stopped its operation 1 day ago and there is no perspective for it to restart in the nearby future. This refinery was so important that Russia altogether lost more than 21% of the refinery capabilities just because of its Kaboomed. Before it was 17 and now 4% were added. And from what we understand, it is just a beginning. It pushes Russia down to the deepest fuel crisis ever, during the years of the Russian independence, of course. But what is Russian independence? I think other states celebrate independence from Russia, but not Russia itself. And soon, Flamingo missile will fly. By the way, we have controversial information about developer of those missiles and drones. I'm gonna tell you more about it in this video, so bear with me. The important thing, however, that missile is working and soon it's gonna be used. Maybe it has already been used by Ukraine, but we don't have the visual evidence filmed by Russian eyewitnesses. Mainly they film drones. So the economists did their research and they found out that 90% of the missile components are made in Ukraine, which is good. I was wondering about the engine. Well, as they say, it is AI-25, which is kind of the old one. The same engine is installed in L-39 Albatros or Yakovlev 40. I would say that those engines are quite thirsty. So there should be kind of the big fuel tanks installed in that missile. Ukrainian's Motor Sich company is still capable to produce those engines, which is good. And according to the Kyiv Independent, there is the corruption probe on Flamingo missile production. Journalists say that investigation was started 4 months ago by the National Anti-Corruption Bureau, which Zelensky and the Ukrainian government tried to block 2 months ago. And for now, it is just an investigation and no criminal charges applied to anyone. What detectives want to know is whether the company disclosed all of the information about its purchases and whether they put the normal price for the products, or maybe the price for the drones and missiles was over-exaggerated, as well as the number of the produced items. On one of my streams on other channel, by the way, I have one more YouTube channel, you may check it out in the video description below. So there I say that the information that Ukrainian FP1 drone production is almost equal to the Russian Shahid drone production, well, it's kind of not looking real. Because Russia already established many of the factories and definitely they produce roughly 3,000 Shahids per month. At least, maybe even 5,000. And for Ukraine, I don't see that significant production of FP1 drones, so the information which was given to press by the company, I think it's not real. I even called it a fishy one a few days ago, before we even knew about the investigation opened by NABU. Unfortunately, NABU officials declined the comment on this issue, saying that the agency could not discuss it as it concerns the secrecy of investigation. And later on NABU even denied the involvement in some sort of the probes against Flamingo missiles, but Flamingo missiles and the company, I would say it's different. Here is their comment: we deny any kind of the investigation against Flamingo how can you investigate Flamingo missile? You investigate company, And it's a very short statement. I think after all they're investigating something, and this company, Firepoint, I think it's called, it absorbs 1/3 of the entire budget of Ukrainian military, giving for the drone and rocket technology. That is quite a lot, and the owner of the firm is not connected to military. So I will monitor the situation and of course I'll keep you updated. For now, we cannot state any sort of the real negative things about the producer of those drones and missiles without the real evidence or investigation results from NABU, which I think after all they conduct, they just don't want to say it openly to the public, because FP1 drones and Flamingo missiles, they could matter in this war. So it's better to approach, if there are some of the corruption schemes, it's better to approach them silently. That is what they do, I think. And after all, I'm very happy that we have independent anti-corruption organs like NABU and Anti-Corruption Prosecution Office, which Ukrainian government tried to close, but no, Ukrainian people protested against that. Alright, awesome news coming from Ukrainian commander Magyar. He said that just recently, the last night, Ukraine hit the very important Russian oil facility. It's the Topovich LNR production dispatch station in Russian Bryansk region. This is the fuel hub and the pump station which is used by the Russian military for the regions which are bordering Ukraine. As Magyar reported, the strike significantly disturbed the Russian logistics in the region. About the Druzhba pipeline, we had the information yesterday, but still it has not yet been confirmed by Magyar or Szijjártó, Prime Minister of Hungary. And here is the actual image of the operation of the Ukrainian army at these specific pipelines. So not just the big pumping facility was hit, but also the pipeline itself. Oh my god, this is the Russian-supplied petrol in Crimea. Just look at this. Oh my god. Even the donkey's piece looks more promising than this one to put in the gas tank. Well, today there was the big meeting of the Russian commanders, military officials, and Belousov, who is the Russian defense minister, said that they want to increase the number of the contract soldiers in the Russian army. But clearly the advertisement for Russians to join their army is getting crazier and crazier. Here they say sign up the contract before it's too late. The peace agreement is coming soon. So it's like hurry up to become a millionaire. 2.3 rubles during the first week, 5.2 rubles you'll have if you serve for a single year. And that amount of money is just crazy. It's close to $60,000 per year. Just imagine this number. I'm always saying that for dictators, it is more profitable for people to live in poverty because that is how they may control them and propose to join the Russian army where there will be no way out, actually. They say, come on, join the Russian army. Hurry up, you'll be a millionaire. We're gonna sign up the peace agreement soon. Maybe in a couple of weeks, as Donald Trump says, so you'll be alive, no worries. You'll get your money, but no, it's not right. But in fact, absolutely not. Russia just needs more meat for mid-wave assaults. That's it. And this is the real-time oral novel we witness. Oh my god. To some of the political news, the head of the Ukrainian president's office, Yermak, met with Vitkov today. Vitkov probably tried to convince Ukraine to give up Donbass. At least judging on what signals were coming from Trump's administration, I think it was like that. So far, we don't have details about this meeting, but I think it was like that. And Vitkov is for sure an incompetent idiot. Because even according to the Reuters article, Vitkov misunderstood the proposal of the Russian Federation. The Russian Federation insisted on Ukraine to leave Donbass, but Vitkov understood it as the swapping of the territories, that Russia is ready to give up something. Then in fact it was not the condition. And remember how Donald Trump was speaking about swapping of the territories. Ukraine will get more territories, but during the Alaska meeting it became understandable that proposal from Putin is just for Ukraine to capitulate. No any swapping, no. And we see how Donald Trump even stopped speaking about swapping. Trump is tired of the war and wants it to end. Well, I would say that Trump is just tired of those questions asked constantly by journalists. What's about Ukraine? You promised 24 hours, you promised 2 weeks, you promised 50 days, 10 days for Russian ultimatum, you promised to apply sanctions, and so on and so on. Every of his press conference ends up with those questions because Ukrainian topic is still in the top priority. It matters a lot for security of Europe and I would say for entire world because the scale of the losses is just crazy and I have extra data about that one and probably in the next video I'm gonna share more information about it. Who are really tired of this war are the Ukrainian soldiers and our guys are out there on the front line still defending Ukraine. So Trump may put his tiredness into his orange ass. And despite all of those talks about the ceasefire, there is no visible end of this war. At least I don't see it, judging on Russians' rhetorics. The spokeswoman, I guess, of the Russian Foreign Ministry today stated that they still demand denazification, demilitarization of Ukraine, and it should be the part of the lasting peace. So for 3.5 years of this war, I don't see any sort of the step back from the Russian side in their demands for Ukraine. They still insist on denazification and other bullshit. And the situation right now in Ukrainian skies confirms that Russia wants to terrorize Ukrainian society and Ukraine in general to reach their demands in any sort of the way, but it will not happen. As today, President Zelensky confirmed in his press conference that Russia is unable to gain control over Kyiv or entire Ukraine. It is physically not possible. As well as for Ukraine, it is not possible to achieve the military victory, liberating all of the territory. Simply, we are in lack of the resources. And Zelensky personally would like to follow the diplomatic way, some sort of the solution. But as we see, the diplomatic solution just breaks into the wall of the Russian demands and stupidity of Donald Trump. Chancellor Merz mentioned today that the war in Ukraine might continue for many more months. I would say many more years, according to my prediction, because I don't see any sort of the concessions coming from Russia. They want to increase their army, they're pushing on the front lines, they accumulate their forces. So despite all of those talks which happened recently after meeting with Donald Trump, Putin Trump, Zelensky Trump, European leaders Trump, then everyone was almost prepared for the meeting between Zelensky and Putin. It was just days away if you read out newspapers dated a couple of weeks ago, right? But now we all came to the same point, and Merz is realistic more or less here, saying about few more, like many more months, he said, and I would say we would be really lucky if it happens in many more months, indeed. I don't see the picture as not such optimistic, I would say. According to Financial Times, Donald Trump even proposed Chinese peacekeepers for Ukraine. So what to do with Ukraine? How to solve it? So let's search for peacekeepers. Europe doesn't want to deploy theirs, well, at least before the ceasefire, and now let's deploy Chinese. There are many of the Chinese people. China army is huge, so they might be put 50 meters away throughout the front lines to monitor the situation. Really, yeah? But this is still far away from reality, the same as meeting between Zelensky and Putin. By the way, Chancellor Merz also said that the meeting between Zelensky and Putin is not realistic. Guys, sorry I'm so late with this update, but more videos to come. Thanks for your support on Patreon. You keep me motivated, and right now I'm gonna film the frontline updates and publish it few hours after this video. Again, many thanks for your kind support, for pressing your likes, for subscribing for the channel. You are awesome, guys. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.